Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
We're back here at the Weekend Sports Buzz, Hour 2. It's going to be a good one. We got some great guests lined up for you all. We got Mike Gandolfo at 11:30 talking about the Adidas Invitational. It just got wrapped up in Indianapolis. He's the head recruiting coordinator here in Louisville for the Derby Classic game, so that'll be a good talk. But on the line now, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line, my man Ferrell Elliott from Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship.com, which would be KFFSC.com. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing fantastic down here in Louisville. Of course, myself, Tyler, you know, we've got Danielle Chilton and Mark Blankenbaker joining me. You're up in Canada right now, Ferrell, right?
I'm looking out at Lake Ontario from a hotel room. I was in town for a Canadian Football League game last night.
There's a CFL game going on. Let's just start with that. How was it, and a little comparison of the CFL to the NFL?
Well, yeah, the CFL is actually, and you could win a lot of bets and a lot of bars with this one. The CFL is actually an older football league than the NFL, and when I first started as a player agent, their contracts, in many cases, especially for skill position players, were heavier contracts, more financially incentivized than many NFL contracts at the same time. But boy, those days have changed. The CFL, though, continues to be a wonderful league to develop talent, and that's what I'm doing up here. I had 2 clients playing. But it's a bigger field. You have faster players at every position that plays it. So if you have an undersized, if you see a kid in college playing for U of L, and maybe he's like a defensive lineman, but you know he's not tall enough to play in the NFL, maybe doesn't weigh enough, what he brings to the college game is speed. He's an excellent candidate to come play in the CFL. I'll give you an instance about an NFL player. Robert Mathis at the Indianapolis Colts. If Coach Dungy had not hand-selected Robert out of Alabama A&M to come play for the Colts, chances are Robert would have ended up as a perfect CFL player. So he owes a lot of gratitude to Coach Dungy, I'm certain.
So basically, it's the guys that are a very talented league, just maybe too small or a step behind the NFL, and so it seems to be a competitive type of league.
It is. It's very competitive. There's only 8 teams here. The rosters are divided between Canadians and import players. That's what an American player is called. 42-man rosters. All the quarterbacks are import players. Yes, there's guys that are playing up here that necessarily don't have the size to play in the NFL. There's guys that are in the NFL that can't play up here. Every year there's NFL cuts that say, well, I'll go play in Canada. And they get here and they can't participate with the wide field. You'll have accurate quarterbacks. There's quarterbacks that play every week in the NFL that might not be able to play in this league because they can't throw the ball across the field. It's a huge, huge field, and you've got to really have a rocket for an arm to get that ball across.
Who'd you get to watch last night? I don't know one CFL team.
Well, it was the Toronto Argonauts. That'll probably jog your memory. You probably heard of them.
I have heard of them.
And the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Hamilton is always generally the underdog in this matchup. It would be like Louisville playing Bowling Green if these two organizations were in Kentucky. So Bowling Green, Hamilton would be the Bowling Green. They would be the smaller little brother, so to speak. But last night Hamilton raced out to the lead, utilizing players from South Carolina, New Mexico State. There's a player that returned 2 kicks. He returned a missed field goal, 114 yards. The field's 10 yards longer, so he returned that missed field goal, 114 yards for a touchdown.
Crazy.
very exciting play. So it was just a great night, and the players that I'm seeing up here, I use this for two reasons: to keep careers alive for players that want to continue to play football, and to develop players that the NFL missed on to bring them back to the NFL. And the two guys that I was watching last night, that's what I'm looking for. So
that's good stuff.
It's a great trip. It gets me, my heart pounds for football all the time. So it was pounding last night, and now I'm headed south today and anxious. We're July 25th. We're headed into camps opening in the NFL.
Yeah, we're just a week, 2 weeks away, I believe, from it. Ferrell, let's get into the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship a little bit here. You got your website, KFFSC.com. Let the listeners know about it. I know it's new, and a lot of people haven't heard of it.
Well, it's new if you've never heard of it.
Exactly.
But this is our 10th year of operations, and you're correct, because it will be a new and wonderful experience to anyone that wants to come play. We are home to, last year, 156 teams competing for the title of the state championship of Kentucky of fantasy football. You don't have to be from Kentucky to play. We had players from 19 states last year. This year we hope to get bigger. Our goal is 228 teams. If we hit that goal, we will reward the state champion with a $10,000 prize. His entry fee is $300. Along the way to that $10,000 grand prize, there's many other cash and prizes available to win that the listeners can go to the website, click awards, and they'll understand that the success in the league is not only enjoyable, but it's also lucrative.
Yeah, I'm on the site right now. I'm pulling up. It's an easy, a very accessible site, KFFSC.com. I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, the draft is at Horseshoe Casino.
The Horseshoe Casino, and that has been a wonderful marketing partner for us. It gives us the opportunity to have the #1 destination in the area, and so the people that come to play fantasy football, they're passionate about it. They would play anywhere. We could have it in any regular convention center, and people would come. But now when they come, they're going to be treated with the hospitality that Horseshoe is famous for, and the southern hospitality that the KFFSC is famous for, and so they're going to have the surroundings that lend itself to a wonderful fantasy weekend. We'll be drafting teams on the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th of August. Training camps are opening, and that's when everybody gets charged up. That's when everyone gets plugged in. We've already had numerous registrations, but the phones should start ringing off the hook next week. So, don't wait. We'd like to hear from you now. I have a lot of personal interest and investment in the league with time, and I love to talk to the players. Later on, you guys give out my phone number if you'd like, because I would, the players can call me, and I can tell them about how we play fantasy ball and why they should play with us.
Oh, yeah.
Like you guys are going to do.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. I talked to Ferrell yesterday for, 15, 20 minutes about this, and he definitely sold me. I'm going to have to get in this league one way or the other. We're going to work on that. But, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm a big fantasy guy, and we're going to have Ferrell on every Sunday, getting us, especially when the season goes, getting everybody prepared to get your fantasy updates. And you're having your own show, right, on 1450. It's going on?
We're Wednesday afternoons between 2 to 3. Someone asked me, why do you guys take Wednesday afternoon? And it does appear to be an odd time to have a fantasy show in July, but it really isn't, because our show is going to go all 16 weeks throughout the season. Trevor Kelsey and I, we have a number of guests in the fantasy world, both national guests and regional guys who play with us in the league, as well as the national guys. But we chose Wednesday because with the NFL moving to a regular season of Thursday night games, we're going to be able to set everyone's lineup and get everyone talking fantasy football early in the week.
That's great. It's going to be a fun time. Since we are on it, let's get a little NFL tidbits in here. Obviously, the news of the week, news of the month going on. Drew Brees finally decided to sign his contract of 5 years, $100 million, if I'm correct. It's finally.
What a wonderful day for Drew Brees, the Saints, and the city of New Orleans, that they are truly invested and infectious with Drew Brees in New Orleans for a lot of a lot of reasons. He's a wonderful addition to that community, and so much a figurehead for the resurgence of everything about New Orleans since Katrina, and so it's great to have it done. I had no doubt that it would get done. Its implications for fantasy football are that it solidifies one key element of solidifying a team that's in a bit of a flux because of all the other issues they've had. And that's what you want to eliminate in fantasy football is any risk. And by having Drew Brees on board and in camp, as everyone expected that he would be and hoped that he would be, that solidifies all those other players, numerous fantasy talents down there that you don't have to have any questions about as when Drew's going to sign and how they're going to work together and will the chemistry still be there. Yes, it will, and it'll be there from July 25th, day one, when they report.
Yep, I know earlier in the week he said he would not report without signing a new contract. Obviously, that was finished, finalized, and like you said, I think Drew Brees is the face of New Orleans, in my honest opinion. He was there when Katrina came through. He was in the heart of everything. They got back. The football was basically like a go-to thing for the city, and when that happened, they got to the Super Bowl, pulled that out. So is Drew Brees a guy that you would want running your fantasy team? Is he going to be your pick in the first or second round for you? Who would you want?
I certainly would be tempted. Of all the first three quarterbacks that will go early, and Drew Brees will probably be the number 3 quarterback that goes up on the board. First will be Rodgers, second will be Brady, and then we'll be looking at Brees. And he generally, in the early drafts that I've been participating in this year, he's been right in the middle of the second round to the very early third round. Okay. In high-stakes football, high-stakes fantasy football, quarterbacks, because they're only given 4 points per passing touchdown, they're a little bit de-emphasized in the scoring system as opposed to some of the guys that play it in their basement or garage leagues. So when you move into that, yes, he's the 3 is a little too high for my personal strategy to choose a quarterback. But if I'm going to do it, Drew Brees is the guy that I would want to be in business with.
Oh yeah, I've 3 years in our league we've had going on, and my friends and whatnot. I've had Tom Brady all 3 years. I made the playoffs all 3 years. I won it last year. Tom Brady obviously had a great season, but you got him, Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. What about Tony Romo? I know you mentioned the Cowboys on our when we were getting the show started. What about Tony Romo and the Cowboys? You see any big fantasy studs out of there?
Well, the whole roster is full of fantasy performers. This is an offense that supports 2 great receivers, and that's what they have in Dez Bryant and Miles Austin. 2 great fantasy receivers. They'll have so many targets that they'll put up the successful numbers. Now, Dez Bryant, with his hands, may drive some of the NFL fans crazy, but they're going to keep feeding him the ball, and so he'll get the numbers to produce fantasy-wise. We all have seen what Miles Austin can do, and he'll terrifically continue to do it. Witten is injury-prone, but he plays hurt and consistently plays well. If they decide on DeMarco Murray as their running back, which obviously they have, and they consistently feed him the ball, he's a big fantasy producer. So that takes us to the quarterback that you asked me about, and so Tony Romo, with all these weapons, he's going to have to put up successful numbers as a fantasy quarterback. There's no way around it. So, Tony Romo's numbers, when you compare them with quarterbacks that have had greater accolades, that have won Super Bowls, Tony Romo's numbers are consistent with those numbers as a fantasy player. So I guess in short, what I'm saying is Tony Romo's a little better fantasy player than he is an NFL player.
Oh, yeah, I would have to agree with you. That is unless he drops field goals to blow your playoffs, right?
Yes, which doesn't hurt you a bit in fantasy, but, will break your heart if you
break your heart kicker. Is right. I'm looking on the website you kind of threw out, on the Cowboys talk, Maurice Claiborne, their defense, a big part of their defense. He says he is not holding out. He will be there. So, if you're a defensive Cowboy guy, that's a good positive for you. And on kind of a local, not really local, but kind of local, the Chicago Bears, Matt Forte finally might be getting a contract.
Well, Forte's contract has probably been the most difficult one to get a handle on. Previous general manager Jerry Angelo, for some reason or another, and I love and respect Jerry and have known him for years, but they could not come together on a contract there. And I don't understand why, and I don't know why. The situation then carried over to the new administration. Fortunately, it's done. This is one of the most exciting fantasy players. He's a bargain, I think, wherever you get him in the draft. He's been going towards the end of the first round, which is where he went last year, and he was a significant bargain last year.
Uh-huh.
And our local tie-in with Michael Bush as a player that you would, in fantasy parlance, we would call a handcuff. That's an intriguing handcuff because if Michael Bush does play, Michael Bush will be successful in that system as well. So it's a positive situation for both those players to have on your fantasy team.
Yeah, for sure. I had Matt Forte 2 years ago, and he was a big contributor for me. And another guy who actually I had this past season, a lot of people thoroughly enjoy. He's a key piece to Tom Brady is Wes Welker. He may not be reaching a deal with the Patriots. That surprises me.
Well, the franchise tag for Wes Welker, and I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but the franchise tag for Wes Welker puts some significant money in his pocket. If you take out to Kansas City and look at the receiver, we've heard nothing about Dwayne Bowe's situation as a holding out because, quite honestly, he can come in and play under the tag at $9 million, and that's way much more money than Dwayne Bowe's ever looked at, and that gives Kansas City another year to look at Dwayne Bowe and say, well, is he really the guy? And Dwayne Bowe can say, yes, I can make $9 million for a year. Welker's situation is different because they know he has been the guy.
Yep.
His numbers under the tag are even higher than Bowe's, and quite honestly, it would take if Welker did not report to camp, it would be very, very difficult to sell that as anything other than real greed on the player's standpoint.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at his. It was $9.5 million guaranteed for his franchise tag as of now, and if they would to refranchise him, it would put it up to $11.5.
Yeah, so he's making a significant amount of money. Now, what every player wants in a long-term contract is that guaranteed money that's part of the contract. And even in Drew Brees' situation, what's going to happen with that, the $100 million, come about 2014, February 2014, the team's going to come and say, Drew, we'd like you to restructure this contract. We'd like to give you some more upfront money, some more guaranteed money. We'd like to extend the contract and change it around because what they're doing is adding average years to the contract and eliminating that cap hit. And that's what New England's struggling with right now. It's not that they don't want Wes Welker in the fold, is they're having to deal with the salary cap and how to allocate that. And in a situation where you sign Wes Welker to an extended contract, you may now have a problem with some other players that you might have to let go. So that's what they're dealing with. And they're probably going behind the scenes right now restructuring other players' contracts to see if Welker can be accommodated.
Yeah, for sure. I would hope as a Welker fan that he sticks with the Patriots. I think him being there with the Brady offense is perfect for him. Ferrell, we are up against a break. We got another guest coming up here in just a few minutes. Before we let you go, though, the site, again, it's KFFSC.com. That's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. If you sign up, you can sign up now, right? You can sign up till the draft.
Yes, we're going to 228 players. We've had we're well on our way. The players can call me at 502-523-5057. They might want to start Monday and wait till I get back into the country.
Yep.
But the guys are welcome to call me and talk about it. I'll take them through the league. It's $300. You're going to have a full season of fantasy entertainment, and it's got to be a great bargain because a lot of our players, we have 3 main event drafting periods plus other drafts. When you go to the website, if you click on events, you'll see everything that we do. And we have some players that are playing and drafting in 6 or 7 different leagues, and we'll actually be participating all weekend. So we think we've got a bargain to offer the fantasy players in the area because so many people are coming and taking advantage of the whole day.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree. Looking at the site, I think it's a great deal, especially your prizes, your awards at the end of the seasons, get in throughout the season and whatnot. It's a great deal. You can also follow Ferrell Elliott and the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship on Twitter. That is at KFFSC, and again, it's at KFFSC on Twitter. Go give them a follow. It's good stuff. And of course, we're going to have Ferrell on every Sunday, and you can check his show out every Wednesday from 2 to 3. Ferrell, as always, it's been a great talk, and I can't wait to talk to you on Sunday.
Thank you, guys. See you next week. Have a great weekend.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Ferrell Elliott from KFFSC.com. You guys just decided not to say one word. Not one word. You're a Bengals fan. You could have asked a Bengals question. You're a Buccaneer football. You're all for football.
I couldn't get a word in with you. I was going to ask advice.
I hold it down, but
I was going to ask advice. This is going to be my first year playing fantasy football.
I was catching up on Twitter.
Next Sunday, remember that question, Danielle? We're going to ask Ferrell for advice.
I was catching up on Twitter.
I saw that. It's fine. We'll get to our break. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. We'll be right back.